Hello friends, welcome back to Liz's Reading Corner, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Liz and I like books, and this is Bookmas Day 17. We'll read the prompts, we'll spin the wheel, and we'll find out what we're reading today. It is a book set in the North Pole or involving Santa, and I chose Mrs. Claus and the Santaland Slayings by Liz Ireland. That seems pretty interesting. Day 17, a book where technology disrupts a holiday celebration, and it chose Feed by Mira Grant. So we will spin the wheel and we'll see what we're reading today. Alright, so we're reading Mrs. Claus and the Santaland Slayings by Liz Ireland. I'm not mad. We'll see. Hopefully this is going to be good. Okay, so I finished Mrs. Claus and the Santaland Slayings. This is book 1 in the Mrs. Claus series, and I'm not a fan. I really genuinely think that maybe Christmas books are just not for me, because I didn't enjoy this in the slightest. Or I didn't not enjoy it, but I also just didn't enjoy it. We follow April, who is married to Nick. She met Nick at her own like lodge that she runs. It is like closed over Christmas time, and she didn't know when she met Nick that he is actually Claus, or that he was going to be the new Santa Claus. And yeah, so we basically come in, it feels like we come in partway through the story, because she's already living in the North Pole, and she's got she's married into really quite a dysfunctional family, to be honest. So we have Nick, who is her husband, who is the current Santa Claus. He is actually the second eldest child. He succeeded Chris, who was Santa Claus until a terrible accident when he was hunting. So Chris has died. Chris was married to Tiffany, and they had a son, Christopher. So Nick is only Santa Claus until Christopher is old enough to take over as Santa Claus. And then there is, I think it's Martin, and I've forgotten the little sister's name. So there's 4 children, and they are just kind of like at each other's throats all of the time. And then add into that the mother's name. God, what's the mother's name? I've forgotten her name, but they call her the Dowager Mrs. Claus, and she still basically runs the house. And I don't understand how April can like deal with this and not just make everyone just stop, because it irritates the crap out of me. She is like constantly spoken down to by Nick's mother. Nick is constantly just not there and really doesn't support her in any way. He's just basically thrown her into this new living circumstance and just expects her to deal with it. And then added to that, there is a series of murders that occur, and they're all pinned on Nick, and April is trying to prove that it's not him, basically. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't, like I said, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't enjoy it, and it was extremely obvious from the start who the murderer is, or at least it was to me. And I don't know, just the whole thing seemed to be a bit off. Like the pacing of the story was not quite right. The characters were just insufferable. I didn't enjoy any of them. I didn't feel like I should have liked any of them, and it was just, again, another disappointing Christmas book. So I gave it 2 stars. We have a few more chances at getting a good book, but again, this was not it, unfortunately. So I don't know. I'm really starting to think that maybe Christmas fiction is not for me. So even with like cozy murder mysteries, and again, it could just be the books that I've chosen, and I might try again next year, but right now I'm just kind of getting over reading Christmas books and them not really being great. So yeah. Have you read Mrs. Claus and Santaland Slayings? What did you think of it? What would you have chosen for these prompts? As always, I would love to know. If you like what I do here, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for another day of Bookmas. Bye!